Hello, I'm here to further the body of knowledge about sourdough bread, and this is a loaf that I made a couple of days ago. In fact, it's got eaten, but this is real sourdough bread, and I'm going to show you how to make it. Now, at the top of the video, I just want to say that if you want to buy some starter from me, you can. It's like $5 plus shipping, and I can send you some of the starter that we'll see here. You shouldn't need to, but if you get stuck, I don't see why anyone shouldn't be able to make sourdough bread. So I looked at the videos on YouTube and read about it, and it's just so precise. Like this amount of water and this amount, and it was just it's like I just thought it can't be that complicated. So I found a video of some guys in the UK, and I've looked for the link, I can't find it. And one guy in Denmark, of which I've got his link, and I liked them because they were kind of relaxed. They're like, hey, you know, it's not that complicated. Here's how to do it. Firstly, the flour. I've done Walmart. Here you go, Pillsbury bread flour. That's it. Nothing fancy. I just started with this because I wanted white bread. Some people say start with rye and all. I didn't bother with that. So, but here's the thing. There are so many different ways of making it that I just reckon it can't be that bad. So I started out with a cup of the flour. Okay, it's about 4 ounces. In America, they do everything by volume, and I was brought up in the UK, and everything's sort of weighed out. So you've got to add some water. Now I use RO water, reverse osmosis. You can use brighter filtered or carbon filtered. I would advise against using tap water, because tap water's got in it chlorine. What does chlorine? Kill bugs. What are we trying to do? We're trying to grow bugs. So the thing I liked about this guy from UK was like, just mix it up to be a batter. It doesn't have to be anything particularly complex. And so I just made the starter like this. And then this is where you have to just use your skill and judgment. Not much skill or not much judgment required, but just make this into a loose sort of, they used a pancake recipe batter. That's pretty close. Now the one thing I did do a bit differently, I've read ones that got potato water, stuff like that. I didn't bother with any of that, but one thing I did do is, as I was going through Walmart, I saw some plums. And this is late February, early March, so this is it's pretty dire selection. But if you look on the plum here, there's a bit of bloom. There's this blue stuff. Well, that blue stuff is yeast, or certainly is a large part of that is yeast. So what I did was I just sort of scraped some of this out with a knife, and that includes the yeast in here, just to get a bit of that and scrape it off and put it in here. So I gave it a bit of a helping hand. That's the yeast, and then basically you just leave it overnight. Maybe next day put a bit more flour in. It likes the sugar from the flour, and then the yeast will start to process it into carbon dioxide. So it looks like that, which is pretty boring. The bit of fortitude happens each day you add some more. As it starts to fill up, you maybe want to just get rid of half of this and then put another like 4 ounces in, but just keep it like this. After 4 or 5 days, depending on the temperature, it will be a bit disheartening because nothing will seem to happen. But here is one that I've got functioning, and this didn't go sort of boost up as much. But if you look carefully, there are some bubbles. And as soon as you start seeing bubbles, it's starting to happen. And what you can do is like, it doesn't actually do as much as I wanted to do, so just lock some more flour in. I don't know, they always say put this much in and this, it's like, I don't know. I know it doesn't really matter. Just mix it up. Well, this is an active starter. This is one that's going. And I was going to use this to make some bread. Put some water in. I was going to make this to make some bread today, but so I emptied a bowl to get this going, and I was going to use that today, but I filled the bowl up again with more flour and more water, and came out to this one. So this is a very nice start. You see the bubbles, and it will crust up. If I put a bunch of flour in here, it'll bubble up to the top. And so we're going to use this to make some sourdough bread. So after 3 or 4 days, maybe 5 days, depending on temperature, in this kitchen it's about 70 degrees, which is 20 Celsius roughly. Keep going, adding a bit of flour. Maybe it gets too full, cut it in half, add another cup and some water. Keep it this consistency and it'll start to happen. Don't get disheartened, because it will work. And so we're going to use this to make some bread. So I've got 2 cups of flour, which is about, I don't know, 8 ounces, something like that. Calculate that, 200 grams, I suppose. And got some salt, I know. Yeah, there you go, salt, that'll do. And starter. I don't know, about a cup of going starter, so it's all zipping along. Let's have a look, how much is this? It's about a cup. I got it down to about this much last night and chucked a whole load of flour in water, and it was like zooming by today. Okay, so that's starter. I'll need some water. I've got my salt in, chuck the water in. Okay, now just before we start mixing this up, let's rescue this starter and have another bit. So what do? I don't know, just chuck a whole load of flour in. So you read stories of people who've got starter was given to them by, you know, old Mrs. Giddings in 1942, and then it was, my guess is, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's completely different. There's so much yeast in the air that the colonies that they got in from the 50s, my guess, have been replaced, and if you were to do a DNA analysis, they would be completely different, because it just works. So there you go. So I'm just scooting this around. So this is the empty bowl that I've just used that has got remains of starter in it. And a bit more water. Okay, and we just leave that one, and overnight that will reconstitute. And if you're interested in some, I'll just send you a bit of this and some flour just to get started. Remember, don't use tap water. It's got chlorine in it. Okay, so I've got myself a knife here to mix this up. So this is going to be my sourdough. Once I've got this into a nice kneaded mixture, I'm going to let it prove overnight. I'll probably do 2 rives. I might punch it down tonight, so I'll put it in the mechanical room. It's going to be a little bit warmer in there. So I've still got the heating running. And then I'll punch it down and I'll form it into a bowl. And there's another site I'm going to recommend point you towards, which is good at, for shaping. That guy's pretty good. Okay, so here's we're just making the dough. We're going to knead it a bit, because once we get the water in, we get the gluten. We need the gluten out to hold the bubbles. There you go. So I'm not going to bore you with all of this. There are plenty of sites that show you more of that. But there you go. I'm just going to knead that for a bit. Let it rise. Punch it down tonight. And then I'll form it into a bun to make sort of this shape. Use a razor to decorate it. One of the decorating sites I've got is on the text. You follow that, the guy seems to know what he's doing. So he seems really good. When you get this all risen, it'll be about twice as big as this. You put it in the oven, 400 degrees. It'll be about an hour-ish. That's it. Just remember, when nothing seems to be happening after 4 or 5 days, keep going until you see those little bubbles. As soon as you see little bubbles like that, it's happening. This thing is going to be overflowing by this evening. So this is my light. And that's it. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Good luck with it. And got any questions, send me a note. And good luck, because it's really worth it.